Rain clattered like shattered glass on the roof of the midnight bus. Ben Carter, a single father with tired eyes and oil-stained hands, cradled his sleeping daughter. Lily, her tiny legs curled under a worn pink backpack. The city lights smeared against the wet windows as the bus groaned through downtown. That's when she boarded. A woman in a sleek trench coat, drenched and shaking, dropped into the seat across from them. Her face was turned away, hidden behind oversized sunglasses, but her shoulders trembled. Silent sobs escaped into her gloved hands. Most passengers stared at their phones. Ben leaned forward gently. "You all right, ma'am?" The woman flinched, then slowly looked up. Her lips parted to speak, then stopped. For a second, her eyes lingered on Lily, fast asleep in his arms. A tremor in her voice. "I just needed to disappear for a while." Suddenly, a flash from the back. A man taking photos. Her eyes widened. Panic. Ben stood. "Delete that now." But it was too late. Ben didn't know the woman across from him was Ava Langford, worth $7.2 billion, fleeing the empire her father built and destroyed. And this night would change everything. The alarm buzzed at 4:45. A.m. Not that Ben needed it. He was already awake, lying on the couch with his feet dangling off the edge. An unpaid power bill on his chest and a crayon drawing stuck to the wall above him. In the kitchen. He poured the last of the cereal crumbs into a bowl, added water instead of milk, and stirred without complaint. It wasn't for him. It was for Lily. She came in, rubbing sleep from her eyes, her tangled hair tied up with one of his old shoelaces. "Morning, bug," he smiled, crouching down to kiss her forehead. She looked at the cereal. "Daddy, where's the milk?" Ben shrugged with that signature grin, the one that tried to hide poverty under playfulness. "We're doing astronaut breakfast today, like in space. No cows on the moon, remember?" She giggled, and it was all he needed. By 6 a.m., he had Lily's hair brushed, shoes tied, and lunch packed. Just a half peanut butter sandwich and an apple. He dropped her at school and jogged to the auto shop for his shift. Grease already on his hands before sunrise, but under the noise of ratchets and engines, a thought gnawed at him. How much longer could I hold this all together? The answer never came, but every day, Ben kept moving. For Lily, for the promise he made to himself when Melissa walked out. That no matter what she would never feel abandoned. Ben's boots were splitting at the seams every time he stepped off the curb. Into a puddle, cold water soaked through and curled his toes. Still, he walked with purpose, head up, lunchbox swinging at his side, as if he wasn't praying that duct tape on the solas would hold another day. After his morning shift at the garage, he clocked out, wiped his hands on a rag, and jogged 2 blocks to the back door of Miller's Grocery. His second job. The manager barely looked at him. "You're late." "I ran," Ben said, out of breath. "Bus skipped me," the man scoffed. "Run faster next time." Ben said nothing. By 9 p.m., he was stocking canned soup under flickering fluorescent lights, back aching, knees stiff, and hands trembling from hunger. His stomach growled, but he ignored it. The last granola bar was for Lily's lunch tomorrow. At home, he opened the fridge, a ghost town of ketchup packets and expired milk. The freezer hummed with a single tray of ice. He sat on the floor, legs stretched, eyes heavy. Bills spilled from a shoebox on the coffee table. Rent past due, light disconnection notice, school supply fee reminder. Each envelope felt heavier than the last. In his wallet, $22.14, and nowhere near enough gas to last the week. But on the fridge was Lily's note, scrawled in purple marker. "You're the best dad in the whole world." Ben stared at it, chest tight. He'd lost sleep, food, and pride, but he hadn't lost her love. Not yet, and as long as he had that, he'd keep walking in those torn-up boots until they turned to dust. It was a Wednesday. Unremarkable, UMMEMORABLE. Except for the moment Melissa stood in the doorway with a suitcase and eyes that wouldn't meet his. Ben held Lily, barely a year old, in one arm, a baby bottle in the other. He had oil on his shirt from a shift he left early, just to be home on time. He thought, maybe they'd watch a movie, maybe talk, maybe laugh like they used to. "Where are you going?" he asked, voice flat with disbelief. She hesitated. LAA shoot could lead to something bigger. Ben blinked. A shoot? For how long? She avoided his gaze. I don't know. And that's when it hit him. She wasn't coming back. Ben stepped forward. "Melissa, Lily's just a baby. I need to live, Ben." Her voice cracked. "I need to feel like I'm more than just ... this." She looked at the bottle in his hand, then at Lily's tiny fingers curled around his thumb. "I love her," she whispered, "but I can't do this." And then she was gone. No argument, no door slam. Just silence, the kind that fills every room long after someone leaves. Sat down on the couch. Lily whimpered. He held her close, kissed her head and whispered, "It's okay, Bug. I'm not going anywhere." But truth be told, he didn't know how he was going to do it. He just knew he had to. The first year without Melissa was a blur of diapers, spilled bottles, midnight fevers, and panic. Ben learned to warm a bottle while half asleep, rock Lily, to sleep with the soft hum of a country song, and soothe her teething cries with frozen fruit in a dish towel. He wasn't perfect. Far from it. But he showed up every minute, every meltdown, every scraped knee and sniffle. He watched YouTube videos on how to braid hair, practiced until his fingers ached. And every night, before he collapsed on the couch, he'd kneel beside her crib and whisper, "You're not missing anything. I promise." At daycare, other moms looked at him sideways. He once heard one whisper, "Poor thing. Probably doesn't know what he's doing." But Lily didn't care. To her, he was daddy, hero, storyteller, chef, protector. One afternoon, she brought home a drawing from pre-K. 3 stick figures holding hands. Above them, a sun. Below, a label. "Me and Daddy and the moon mommy lives on." Ben stared at it, heart splitting. "She thinks her mom's on the moon," he muttered. "Maybe that's easier." He framed it, hung it on the fridge. That night, when Lily was fast asleep, he stood at her door, just watching. A quiet moment. A fragile victory. And in the silence he made a vow. He would give her the kind of love that never needed to be earned. The kind that never left. The fluorescent lights in the county welfare office buzzed like dying bees. Ben stood at the counter, Lily perched on his hip, clinging to his flannel collar. She was quiet. She could always tell when Daddy was trying to be brave. The woman behind the glass partition didn't look up from her keyboard. Name? Ben Carter? Employment status? "I'm working 2 jobs. She finally looked up, blinked. "Then you don't qualify." Ben frowned. "Ma'am, I barely make enough to pay rent. My daughter eats cereal with water. I'm not asking for a handout, just some help until I get back on my feet." She sighed, sliding a pamphlet. "Under the glass. You fall in the middle. Too poor for tax breaks, too rich for assistance. Maybe try again next quarter." Ben stared at the paper. It was full of smiling clip art families. None of them looked like his. "So what do I do in the meantime?" She shrugged. "Maybe cut back hours. Technically, you'd qualify if you were unemployed." He blinked. "You're telling me to quit my job so I can feed my kid?" Another shrug. "I don't make the rules." Ben turned, jaw tight. Lily laid her head on his shoulder, soft voice muffled in his shirt. "Are we okay, Daddy?" He kissed her hair. "We're okay, Bug." But in his chest he felt the ache, not of failure, but of being invisible, of a system that only notices you when you fall apart, and punishes you when you don't. A week later, Ben returned, desperate, exhausted, and willing to try again. This time, Lily stayed with a neighbor. He didn't want her hearing the words he might have to beg with. He sat across from a new caseworker, a man with glossy shoes and a crooked smile who never looked Ben in the eyes. "So, Mr. Carter, you're requesting supplemental aid?" "Yes, sir." "Just until I catch up on rent." The man skimmed the application. "You're a mechanic and a grocery stocker. 2 jobs, no criminal record. No addictions, no medical exemptions, huh?" Ben straightened. "Is that bad?" The worker chuckled. "It's not good. We're usually not built for guys like you." Ben frowned. "Guys like me?" The man leaned back. "Men who don't complain loud enough. You show up to work. You pay what you can. You keep your head down, and you keep going." Ben's throat tightened. "So I get nothing? Well, unless you're ready to stop working and start failing on paper." Ben clenched his fists. "You're telling me I have to be worse at life to get help?" The man shrugged. "This system was built to put out fires. You're just slow burning." Ben stood up, jaw tight. "Thanks for nothing." As he walked out, the man called after him. "Ever think maybe your pride's the problem?" Ben turned. His voice was steady, but laced with fury. Double quotes, "No, my problem is that I'm doing everything right. And it's still not enough." Outside, rain began to fall. Again, Ben didn't run. He walked, soaked, head down, shoulders burning, and for the first time in a long time, he started to wonder if he really could do this alone. Ben sat in the truck outside Lily's school, fingers trembling around a peanut butter sandwich. It was dry, stale, and half smashed in wax paper. He chewed slowly, eyes fixed on the playground. Watching Lily skip with 2 classmates, her shoes a size too small, toes almost bursting through, he smiled, then looked down at his own, crusted in dried oil, one sole peeling away like a page from a worn-out book. He had enough gas for 3 more days. After that, it'd be walking, grocery shift, mechanic work, pickups, drop-offs, repeat. That night he opened the old red toolbox Melissa once called his first baby. Inside were his prized socket set, torque wrenches, a cracked but reliable multimeter. He stared at them. Then quietly began laying the tools into a cardboard box. At the pawn shop, the guy behind the counter raised an eyebrow. "This is good stuff," Ben nodded. "I know, why sell it?" Ben looked away. "My kid needs shoes and groceries." The man whistled low. "You a single dad?" "Yeah." "Rough world." Ben nodded again. "But not for her." "I won't let it be." He walked out, $62 lighter in tools and $41 heavier in cash. Enough to buy Lily new sneakers and a week's worth of rice, eggs, and fruit. That night, she opened the box and gasped, "Daddy, these are pink." He knelt to tie the laces, voice thick. "Only the best for you, bug." She hugged him like he'd given her the world, and as he held her small frame against his chest, Ben thought, "They can take everything from me. Just not this," not her smile. It was a Saturday. Rain again. Of course, Ben was folding laundry on the couch when Lily came racing down the hallway, a yellowed piece of paper flapping in her hands. "Daddy, what's this?" Ben looked up. The page was torn, smudged with age. His heart stuttered when he saw the headline, "Local mechanic saves 2 children from gas station fire." The photo showed a younger Ben, soot-streaked face, raw hands, cradling a crying child as flames roared. Behind him, he hadn't seen that in years. "Where did you find that?" he asked, voice caught between pride and pain. "In your old toolbox," she beamed. "You're a hero?" He rubbed the back of his neck. "I was just in the right place, at the wrong time." "But you ran into the fire," she said, eyes wide. He chuckled softly. "Yeah, guess I forgot how stupid I used to be." Lily plopped beside him. "You should hang it up. Everyone should know." Ben stared at the brittle article in his hand. He remembered the way they'd called him brave. The free coffee for a week. The brief flicker of feeling seemed then it faded. Like they all forgot. Like it didn't matter anymore. I don't need to hang it up, he said finally. I've got you. She leaned on his shoulder. I think you're still a hero. He swallowed hard, blinking back emotion, because buried beneath years of rent notices, oil changes, and broken dreams, was a man who once ran through fire. And somehow, he was still running. Ben stood outside Lily's classroom, smoothing the wrinkles from his flannel shirt. He'd come straight from the garage, didn't have time to change. His boots were still flecked with oil. His hands scrubbed red from trying to look presentable. Parent-teacher night. He'd promised Lily he'd be there. She'd drawn him a map of where to sit. A little heart marked his chair as he stepped. Inside, conversations quieted. The room was filled with polished shoes, designer jackets, and parents holding lattes. Ben's clothes smelled faintly of motor oil. He offered a smile to the teacher, a woman with tight hair and tighter lips. She blinked. You're Lily's father? Yes, ma'am. Ben Carter. Her eyes flicked down to his boots. Oh, I thought you might have been maintenance. He laughed politely, covering the sting. Nope, just the full-time dad. She gestured stiffly to Lily's desk. As Ben sat, he noticed a group of mothers whispering in the corner, eyes darting toward him. One of them giggled behind her hand. On Lily's desk was a project. My hero. She'd drawn him with a cape, standing beside a heart and a wrench. Caption: My dad fixes everything. Ben's throat closed. He stayed quiet through the presentation. Took notes, clapped politely. Tried to make himself smaller. When it ended, the teacher avoided his eyes. No one said goodbye, but as he left, Lily ran up, arms wide. You came, he scooped her up. Wouldn't miss it for the world. She kissed his cheek. You smell like the garage, he laughed. That's how heroes smell, right? And even if the world didn't see it, in Lily's eyes, he still wore the cape. Back on the bus. The storm hadn't let up. Ben shifted Lily gently, her head resting against his shoulder. She was out cold, thumb tucked beneath her chin, exhausted after a long day. Ben's jacket was wrapped around her like a blanket. Across from them, the woman sat with her knees pulled close to her chest, face turned toward the window. The streetlights flickered across her reflection, but even that looked like it was hiding something. She had taken off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red, not just from crying, but from sleeplessness. Her lips were trembling. Ben spoke softly. I'm not trying to get in your business, but you looked like you needed someone to ask. The woman didn't answer at first. Then, almost a whisper, do you ever feel like your name is a cage? Ben tilted his head. My name? Nah. It's just a name. She shook hers. Mine. Buys me everything but peace. She glanced down at her purse. A monogrammed ole shimmered faintly in the dim light. Ben didn't notice, but two teenage boys at the back did. One whispered to the other, then quickly pulled out a phone and began recording. The woman's body went stiff. Ben saw it. He stood, calm but firm. Delete. She's not your story, the boys laughed. The woman stood and sat beside Ben. Thank you, she whispered, voice cracking. Ben nodded, wrapping Lily tighter. Some things you don't film. Some people you just protect. She glanced at him, really seeing him now. You don't recognize me, do you? Ben frowned. Should I? She gave the faintest smile. I'm Ava Lanford. He blinked. The name was vaguely familiar. She looked away again. Tomorrow, the entire country would know exactly why. The quiet hum of the bus was shattered by a sudden chime. One of the boys' phones lit up. Dude. This is going viral. Ava stiffened. Her breath caught in her throat. Ben noticed the screen. Her face, clear as day, framed beside a caption that chilled her blood. Is that Ava Langford? On a public bus? Already thousands of likes. Her hands trembled. Please, you have to make them take it down." Ben stood, calm but intense. He walked to the back where the teen sat smug, screens glowing with attention. "I asked you nicely." The boy shrugged. "Too late, old man. This is public. You can't stop the internet." Ben's voice was low, but sharp. "You're kids, but you're about to make an adult mistake." The boy stood, trying to puff his chest. But Ben didn't flinch. "I fought in 2 wars, Ben said, gaze locked. "You really think I'm scared of Wi-Fi?" The tension hit the roof. Passengers stared. Ava looked away, humiliated. Then something snapped, not in anger, but in presence. Ben leaned closer to the boy's phone, whispered, "You post her. You post my daughter. You hurt either of them, and you'll wish it was just a cease and desist you got in the mail." The boy hesitated. Ben's voice dropped to a whisper. "Delete the damn video." A beat, then the video was gone. Ben turned, walked back to Ava and Lily. He didn't gloat. Didn't grin. Just said, "You're safe now." Ava stared at him like she hadn't seen a man in years. The bus had grown quiet again, the kind of silence that follows a storm. Ben sat down beside Ava. Lily nestled between them, her tiny hands wrapped around her father's arm. Ava's purse sat in her lap like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She held it tightly, white-knuckled, guarded. Lily peeked up, curious. "Miss Ava, why do you keep holding your bag like that?" Ava hesitated. Her lip trembled. She glanced at Ben, then down at the leather SATCHEL. She unzipped it slowly. With reverence. Out came a single folded envelope, gold-lined, sealed with red wax. Its edges were worn, like it had been touched 1,000 times but never opened. She looked up, eyes glassy. This is the last letter from my father. Before he died," she whispered. "He left it with a clause. I wasn't allowed to open it until I walked away from the company. Until I lived 1 full day as a normal person." Ben leaned in gently. "And today is that day?" Ava nodded. "I took a bus. I cried in public. I made a fool of myself. But I met you. And your daughter." Lily's eyes widened. "What does it say?" Ava looked at the seal, her father's crest, embedded into the wax like a ghost of legacy past. "I don't know," she whispered. "But I think I'm finally ready." Ben said nothing. He just gave her a quiet nod, as if saying, "You're safe to be whoever you are here." Ava placed the letter back inside. Not to hide it, but to open it when the time was right. The brakes hissed as the bus rolled to a stop near a small neighborhood. Cracked sidewalks, overgrown fences, and homes that looked like they'd seen better decades. Ben stood, lifting Lily gently onto his hip. She giggled, wrapping her arms around his neck like always. Ava didn't move. She looked out the window, not at the destination, but at the life outside it. A small boy chased a paper plane across a patchy lawn. A woman hung damp clothes on. A squeaky line. Music leaked from an open window, not elegant, not polished, just real. Ben turned back. "You getting off?" Ava hesitated. I don't know if I should." He tilted his head, smiling softly. "You don't have to be anyone here. That's kind of the magic of this place." She looked up at him. "This is your stop?" Ben chuckled. "It's not much. But yeah, it's home." She glanced at Lily, still giggling as she played with the string on Ben's hoodie. Ava clutched her purse tighter. "I don't want to go back to the city," she said quietly, the words like glass breaking in her throat. "I don't think I ever did." Ben reached out a hand, not as a savior, not as a man with answers, but as someone who'd seen loss, known pain, and chosen love anyway. "Then don't," he said. "Come meet our world. Just for today." Ava nodded. And for the first time in years, she got off the bus without knowing where she was going and felt free. Ben's house wasn't large. Peeling paint framed the porch. A crooked mailbox leaned toward the street. But as he pushed, the door opened, Sunlight spilled through checkered curtains, and the smell of rosemary and lentils floated through the air. "Lily's favorite," Ben said, setting his daughter down. "Soup's been simmering all day." Ava stepped inside cautiously, as if her heels didn't belong on this scuffed wooden floor. But the quiet hum of life inside, the mismatched cushions, the refrigerator covered in crayon drawings, the cat sleeping on a sunlit patch of rug, felt safer than any penthouse. Lily ran to the table, proudly showing Ava a drawing. "That's my daddy and me. We're astronauts." Ava knelt, tracing the red crayon trails with a trembling finger. "You're very brave, Captain Lily." Ben poured soup into chipped bowls. "It's not silverware and servers, but it's hot and honest." They sat, Ava between father and daughter, spooning lentils into silence. Then Lily burst out laughing, a wild giggle at nothing in particular. Ben joined in. And after a beat, so did Ava. It cracked from her like thunder breaking the drought. Laughter. Real. Ugly. Joyful. Ben watched her closely. She saw it in his eyes. He wasn't fascinated by her beauty or her status. Just her being here. "I forgot what this felt like," she said softly. "What?" Ben asked, not being afraid. He didn't say anything, just offered more soup, as if that was the best answer in the world. And for that hour, sunlight poured in and warmed all three of them. The house was still. Lily had fallen asleep with a stuffed dolphin cradled in her arms. A soft lullaby whispered from a toy speaker in the corner, and the moonlight spilled in through the kitchen window, pooling like silver on the floor. Ava sat at the table, her hands wrapped around a chipped mug of tea. Across from her, Ben leaned. On his elbows, silent but present, she looked at him. "Do you know what it feels like to be owned?" Ben's brow furrowed, but he didn't speak. He let her continue, slowly, like peeling off layers of armor. "My father built an empire, but it cost us everything. He picked my husband, not because he loved me, but because he controlled him, a merger with a wedding ring." Her voice caught. "I smiled for cameras, wore diamonds, gave speeches at galas, but inside I was drowning. I stopped recognizing my own voice." Ben finally spoke. "So you ran?" She nodded. "I took nothing, just escaped. No driver, no security. I didn't want their pity. I just wanted to breathe." Ben's eyes softened. "And the bus?" "I didn't know where I was going. I just wanted to be no one for a little while." The quiet that followed wasn't empty, it was healing. The kind of silence that holds space for someone else's truth. Ben took a slow sip of his coffee. "You're not no one. You're someone who chose to fight back. That counts." She looked at him, tears rimming her lashes. "You think so?" He nodded. "I know so." And in that dim kitchen, surrounded by the scent of tea and nighttime stillness, Ava finally felt seen, not for her wealth, not for her image, but for her humanity. The next morning brought a fragile kind of peace. Lily was at the table, giggling over cereal. Ava, barefoot and wrapped in one of Ben's old hoodies, was gently drying dishes beside him. The sunlight through the window made everything feel soft, safe, almost normal. And then, knock, 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 3 slow, heavy raps. Ben froze, the dish in his hand still dripping. Ava's knuckles whitened around the towel. Her eyes darted to the front door like prey sensing a predator. Ben walked slowly to the door, looking through the peephole. What he saw made his stomach knot. 2 men, suits, earpieces, government-grade stillness. "Can I help you?" Ben asked. Cracking the door, one of them held up a badge, the kind that wasn't meant to be questioned. "We're looking for Ava Langford." The name hit the air like a shattering glass. Ava appeared behind Ben, her voice steady but quiet. "Who sent you?" "Miss Langford," the man said. "Your father is worried. He's offered a substantial reward for information. You've been missing for 12 days. "I'm not missing," she replied calmly. "I left." Ben stepped. Forward, protective. She's not a hostage. She's safe here. The second man's jaw tightened. We're not here to argue. We've been instructed to bring her home. Ava's voice trembled, but her spine stayed straight. Tell him, I'm not property. I'm not coming back. The man stared at her, something between surprise and irritation crossing his face. Then, after a pause, they turned and left. Ben closed the door and leaned his back against it. The silence returned, but this time it was heavy. Ava, he whispered. What now? She looked at him with tired, defiant eyes. We fight. That night, the house was silent, but no one was asleep. Ava sat at the edge of the couch, a duffel bag at her feet. The same hoodie clung to her frame like armor. She scribbled something on a piece of paper, hands shaking. Ben stood in the doorway, arms folded, eyes full of storm. You were going to leave without saying goodbye? He asked softly. I have. Tio, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. They'll come back. And when they do, I don't want Lily caught in the middle. Or you. Ben stepped forward. You think Lily's scared of you? She drew you into her picture today. Stick figure, messy ponytail, called you Ava the Brave. Ava blinked hard. She's just a kid. She knows what family looks like, even if it doesn't come with bloodlines or contracts. Ava looked up, her eyes glassy. Ben, I have billions. And not one person in that world ever saw me. Not the way you did. I was broken on that bus. You helped me stand. I can't bring my past into your peace. Ben knelt in front of her. I don't need peace if it means losing what we've built. I need you here. So does Lily. Tears slipped down her cheeks. You'll have to fight for it, she warned. He smiled. I already did. Every day. For Lily, for myself. Now I'll fight for you too. She dropped the letter. Dropped the bag, and in that small living room, lit by nothing but a table lamp and full hearts, Ava collapsed into Ben's arms. No more running. Just the beginning of something beautiful, something chosen, something whole. He never wanted money. Never asked for credit. All Ben Carter ever wanted was to raise his daughter with dignity, even when the world treated him like he didn't matter. But kindness has a memory. It echoes longer than wealth, cuts deeper than shame, and sometimes it circles back. When you least expect it, because maybe we all have a choice to look away or to lean in. That moment on the bus, when he saw a woman in pain and chose to speak like a human, it didn't just change her life. It saved his.